Brusdar Graterol, the Bazooka, has yet to make an appearance. So we're down on him because we have very high hopes for the Bazooka.
So it's like an asterisk.
Yeah.
An asterisk who's not. He's always hot.
And it's plainly for him not being ready to go. Dave Roberts today kind of danced around where Brusdar is at and when we can expect to see him. You guys listen to Dave, and we'll all talk about it together.
He's still got to go through some live hitters, so I would assume that he'll take down some hitters at some point in time. But until we check that box, then we won't see him in a game.
Dave, what happened this offseason with Brusdar where he couldn't, I guess, properly prepare?
There was just some things that I don't think that it's right for me to speak to it. Personal, some physical things, nothing kind of medical, nothing kind of like orthopedically, but that just set him back a little bit. He got married. There's some other things that just didn't allow for him to get his proper buildup in preparation for spring training.
And what has he been able to do? I saw he obviously threw off the mound all fastballs last week. Has he thrown off a mound since?
I don't know which day. I think he did, Jorge. And the last thing I heard is that he's going to start spinning some breaking balls off the mound. I'll check back in when he's more, facing hitters and get to be more active with us as far as in a big league ball game.
Is it getting to the point in spring where you're kind of running out of time for him to be ready for opening day, or no?
I wouldn't say the door's closed. I think for us, the main thing is that there's a lot of things that took place this winter for Brusdar that didn't allow for him to prepare like he normally would have, as far as throwing bullpens to prepare for spring training. So the last thing we want to do is, speed him up when he's not ready. So I think that his throwing progression, he's progressing very well. But I do think that as a one inning guy, a 1+, there's still an opportunity. But, the main thing is that we just want him to be healthy and progress the right way.
So are we going to say COVID or are we going to not say COVID?
Look, I mean, it sounds like there was some sort of medical issue, and we'll let you kind of you can fill in the blanks on that one however you want to, but it was not relating to his arm, which was the biggest thing for me. I needed to know, is there anything wrong with his arm? Because if you guys remember, that was the reason why the Red Sox tried to back out of the deal. They didn't like something with his shoulder. They were concerned about that, and so we had to flip some extra prospects to Minnesota, moved around, shift things. Understood. I mean, I'm not worried. He's a one-inning guy. I think that's the biggest thing in this. You got to remember that he's a one-inning guy, but despite the fact that he's a one-inning guy, he still needs games under his belt. He still needs live ABs under his belt in order to be ready to go for the season, or else he's not going to get out of the gate rolling. He's going to get us, he's going to stumble out of the gate, probably, more than likely. We've seen that in the past, but he is a guy who throws triple digits. He's a guy that's got to build up to that. I don't think he's just going to come out of the gate throwing 100 miles an hour. I would not expect that from anybody, but especially him, a guy who doesn't sound like he got a lot of work in or any work at all in. Maybe he might not have at all. He did get married, so congratulations, mazel tov, all that.
Dave does not seem worried. That's a good thing. Of course, Dave is a very good actor.
Good at that.
He's a damn great actor. This is a long season. We are back to 162-game full-ass season. So whatever happens at the start, the whole idea of the opening day roster and making that 26-man, it's a lot more of show than anything important. You want people healthy at the end of the season. This, if anything, could be looked at as a blessing in disguise because there's one guy we probably should have mixed in with the 3-up. Jimmy Nelson is showing out. We haven't talked much about him because you did not know, you could not have expected, a showing like this out of a guy who's been hurt for the greater part of 2.5, 3 years. Was hurt again. He's had back, he's had shoulder. He's destroyed his shoulder in the past. So he's been all over the place, but he's showing out very well. They're building him up to be a starter. He's never going to start. I think Plunkett asked Dave today, he's not going to be in your rotation will he be able to, pitch in relief and all that? But this opens up an opportunity for somebody to see what Jimmy Nelson could actually do in the regular season out of a bullpen role, maybe being that guy like Plunk mentioned, who can get you 2, 3, 4 innings every few days, which was kind of something Brusdar was doing that early last season. Mm-hmm. Like they were kind of spacing him out, and especially in a season like this, that could be a good guy to have kind of plop there at the I guess it's sort of the front of the bullpen, but that's my take on it. I think you got to look at the positive side of it. If Brusdar isn't healthy enough to get out major league hitters, you have another guy you can really afford that opening to, and see what he can do against big leaguers in the regular season.
I think the Dodgers are going to take advantage of the fact that they have some veteran arms who are non-rostered that are ready to go. They're going to be ready, rolling right out of the gates. They're going to be fired up. And the fact that they have a couple of young, I would say younger arms with minor league options that are not ready to go. I'm looking at guys like Dustin May. I'm looking at guys like Brusdar Graterol. Both those guys, I think, have 3 option years on them. Mm-hmm. I think they will take advantage of them this year.
Sadly.
I don't think that Dustin May breaks camp with the team, which is surprising on one hand, but also it makes a ton of sense because, number one, he just got his second outing of the spring today. Still does not look like he's in mid-season form, which you wouldn't expect him to be, but you would at least expect him to be up to par by now. But
a little behind.
I think that they are going to take advantage of the fact that they do have a couple of veterans on this team that do need to be added to the roster, or they need to be set free.
Yeah,
guys like Jimmy Nelson. That's one guy who has an opt-out date in his contract, and they were going to make a decision on him. He would have to be added to the 40-man roster pretty soon in order to make that deadline. Obviously, there's a couple of ways that they can do that. Tommy, he still hasn't been transferred over, I believe. So that's a spot that can be freed up. You also look at guys like Mike Kickham. Like Mike Kickham has come out of nowhere to be serviceable, and that's a guy that because he is a veteran, because he's established, because he can be that guy for them. I actually do surprisingly think that he cracks the opening day roster and sneaks his way in so that you can option some other guys for the first part of the season, and then he's not a part of the team in the second half of the season or even after the first 2-3 weeks or something like that.
Yeah, he would be one of those vintage Jags, just a guy that didn't quite earn the spot, but
got the
spot because Dave, likes the veteran presence and the moxie, and he's been there before, even though he really hasn't. Somebody like Kick has not been there that much, but sounds very Dave Roberts. He sounds very Andrew Friedman-y. Try to hold on to these guys as much as they can because, again, you don't need to have the most optimum roster on day 1. You need it on day 162 and beyond.
Right. So I think that I think they're going to play with that. I think the opening day roster is not going to be the typical opening day roster that you would expect from the Dodgers, from the current team that they have. I think it's going to be missing a lot of pieces that you're going to look at it and be like, whoa, like how did this many guys get held off of the opening day roster? How did this many old folks make it onto the opening day roster? But I think that's how it's going to be. I think they're going to ride those older dudes who are not on the 40-man roster currently pretty heavily in the first part of the year, and then they're probably not going to be a part of the team long term. But I like Jimmy Nelson. I will say that. I think he's a solid pickup for them. I think he's going to, I don't know that he's necessarily going to start games, but he might.
No.
I mean, the way that they're setting things up, though, man, there's a pretty good possibility they go with a kind of ridiculous rotation setup to where they're piggybacking people all the time. So there's just so many different options that they can work with right now. It's kind of ridiculous when you look at what they could do with this roster right now.